For hanging with us during that little bit of technical difficulty. Again, welcome back to another edition of SCZ Live. I am Shanae, and in one of the most unique places in the entire zoo, our cactus garden. Now I'm here with Tyler, who is our resident cactus expert and one of our full-time horticulturalists at the zoo. And Tyler, is it fair to say that cactus are your passion?
Yeah, I'd say that's fair. That's
great.
Definitely.
So tell us, first of all, what is a cactus? What makes a cactus a cactus?
So a cactus is they're desert species. It's a succulent, so they have fleshy, bases. They hold lots of water because they're not used to having that much water in their native areas, and they're pokey to protect from everything.
And they're pokey. The thing that everybody knows most about cactus is that pokiness. Now, all cactus don't look the same, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so take me through some of your favorites here that we have.
Okay. So we have some barrel cactus, like these round, lower to the ground ones. We've got some columnar ones that are taller. There's just so many different types. Old man of the Andes right here. With the white hairs. You'll see some later on.
Now, we talked about those hairs earlier. I was asking you about the hairs and why are these so hairy, and you thought it was to help protect them maybe from the sun?
I'm thinking I'm pretty sure I've looked it up, and I think it's a protection from the sun. So the sunnier, the more intense the sun is, the more hairs it grows out. So they just kind of flush with hairs whenever it gets real sunny.
Nature is amazing. So I know one of the cactus we mentioned earlier was this giant one right here.
Yeah, so this isn't actually a cactus, it's a agave, desert species, but this is Agave americana. It is probably the most common agave that you'll see. There's none native to Kansas, of course, but it is very large. It's one of the largest cactus or agaves. And the cool thing about these is that whenever they bloom, they only bloom once in their life, and they send up about a 30, 40 foot spike up, and then it flowers, dies, and it falls over, and all the babies just spread all over the place. So
amazing.
That's one way they produce. They also produce little pups on the bottom, and that's another way they reproduce.
Oh, okay. So they have these little fingers that come out then from them.
So.
Now, we have a type of agave, though, that you can find here in Kansas?
No, there's some that are hardy, like Agave perii, but they're kind of hard to find, and they're not native by any means.
So this particular cactus, sorry, not cactus, agave, because although it's a succulent, it's not a cactus.
Yeah.
Okay, so this agave here does go in the winter, correct?
Yes, of course. Yeah, so we pick it up with the telehandler because it's very large, and the bobcat can't even pick it up. So yeah, and actually about 95% of everything that's in this area comes inside. There's a few hardy species that can stay out, but there's a lot more that comes in and stays out. So in the winter, if you come here, it'll be pretty bare. I've been working on that to add more hardy species.
There's certainly a lot of color in here. Now tell me about the tall guy right here that looks like he came out of the Lorax.
So that's a Madagascar palm, Pachypodium. It is a donation we got from Oxford, I believe, and they're just gorgeous plants. They're from Madagascar, obviously, with the Madagascar palm name.
Okay.
They're not actually palm trees. That's just the common name, as many common names do that. But yeah, it's a really cool plant. They can get pretty big. That's probably our tallest one as of right now. But yeah, they're gorgeous plants.
It's a really neat one. Now, we talked about that, the old man or the bearded man?
Old man of the Andes.
Old man of the Andes. We have a larger one that's right over here that you can see, and you can really see those different hairs.
Yep. Yeah.
And then, is that a different type of agave right there?
That is actually
I notice
aloe.
it's bumpy.
Yeah, it's an aloe. So aloes and agave, they have like the same, spiral growth pattern, but they're just a little bit different. there's also yuccas, which have that same kind of thing going on.
And that's what we often see here in Kansas then, are those yuccas.
Yeah, yuccas. Yuccas
Okay.
are everywhere in Kansas.
Okay.
So we have, I think, I don't even know. It's probably 10 plus species here in Kansas.
Now, these are all impressive, but look at this in front of me here. What in the world is this, Tyler?
So I believe that is an Acatia. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it looks very, very similar to most Acatias I've seen. So I'm pretty sure that's an Acatia. If you go to Las Vegas, you'll see plants like this, and they are
the
amazing.
patterning of the leaves are so interesting, how they go in those kind of straight but then spirally lines as it goes.
Yeah.
And this is a big guy too.
Oh yeah, huge. It took probably about 6 of us in horticulture to move this over here.
Wow.
This one is actually still in its pot. It is the only one in here that is still in its pot because we just didn't think it would be a good idea to take it out.
Good to know.
It is in there, and it's went through some pretty good windstorms. So
Now, when people think of cactus, I think they think of these roundish barrel-like cactuses as one type. And is that what it is a barrel cactus?
yeah, that's a barrel cactus. That would be a gold barrel cactus. It's along with this one over here. That one's cool, but this one's a lot better looking.
Yeah, this is a pretty impressive cactus right here.
And this one has a lot of new growth. If you can see this coming up, this is all new growth, and it just kind of comes out from itself.
Now, will this flower as well?
Eventually, it hasn't with us. We've only had this one for about a year now. We got a big donation from a guy that he donated this tall one, the Acatia, and a few other ones in here, and they were massive. It was pretty difficult bringing them in, but yeah, we've only had them for a year, so we don't know when they'll bloom or if they'll bloom anytime soon. Sometimes they take forever to do that.
Well, that leads to the question of a lifespan of a succulent or a cactus. Are they long-lived plants then?
For the most part, like I said, the agaves, they're called a century plant, so they live anywhere from 50 to 100 years, and then they bloom and die. But whereas barrel cactuses, I really don't know how long they can live, but I know it's for a very long time. If I had to guess, this one's 40, 50 years old.
We probably learn more every time because they amaze us at how long they can live all the time. Now, besides the barrel cactus, I think this is probably one of the most common ones here in the United States we think of as well, and it is the
saguaro.
Yeah.
So that's a saguaro cactus. They are not legal to take, so
important to know.
Yep.
Do not go collect them.
Yep. So there's also a cardon. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it is a very similar looking cactus. So that could very well be a cardon. They're very closely related. You can't tell until they're about 70 years old because the cardon starts losing all of its spines.
About 70 years old.
Yeah, so,
that's just amazing.
Yeah. So I have no idea how old that one is. I'd imagine maybe 40. Somewhere around there.
So I know before we went on, we were talking about the skeletal structure that cacti have, and if we look at this particular one down here, right down there on the ground, right in there, you can see part of that skeletal structure. Is that unique to cactus to have something like that after the plant has died?
Yeah, for the most part, choyas are really common with that. They have that really cool structure going on. I know if you go down to some southwestern states, you can buy choya furniture and stuff like that. So yeah, they're really cool inside. It just kind of shows you their structure and how they kind of grow in a way.
So what would you recommend to people who maybe thought cactus were interesting and thought about having their own cactus garden? What are some helpful hints that you would suggest?
Well, don't be afraid to get poked. I get poked at least 30 times a day because not only do I have this cactus garden at the zoo, I also have my own cactus at home that I've been growing for 15 plus years. So don't be afraid to get poked every once in a while because that's just part of the trade. And just kind of explore, see what you can find. It's really cool. Don't take anything out of nature because a lot of things are endangered and stuff like that. Just go to a nursery, go to Lowe's somewhere and find some cactus.
and start.
Yep, start it off.
You would have to have a fairly, some place to put them in the winter though?
Yeah, because most cactus aren't hardy. I mean, they're hardy to a certain extent, just not Kansas hardy. Kansas is zone 6B, which means it can get down to, I believe, -5 on average, and most cactus just can't handle that cold.
Well,
So.
I found it amazing as we were visiting earlier that even though our cactus garden is here near our Australia area, cactus are only found in North and South America.
Correct.
That is something that I never knew. So if you are interested to find cactus, we live in the best part of the world to be able to learn and discover more about them. And again, don't miss this garden when you're here at the zoo. It's right behind our restrooms at the Kookaburra Station. Tyler's made a beautiful little path that goes through it. Tyler, if someone is poked by a cactus, do you have any helpful hints of the easiest way to get those pokes out?
Tweezers. I always carry tweezers on me because, like I said, I get poked so many times a day, and some of them go deep and they'll get stuck in me for days at a time. Sometimes they don't come out until I finally work at them for a couple days, but yeah, tweezers. Sometimes I have to break out my knife and just kind of start digging in there, and
kids, don't do that at home. Make sure and get an adult there. But make sure, again, to enjoy the beauty of them. And remember that with nature, sometimes we watch with our eyes, listen with our ears. But cactus might be one of those good rules to not touch with your hands unless you're prepared to know a little bit more about what you're doing behind them. Tyler, thank you so much for joining us today and helping us learn so much about cactus. I know I have learned more about cactus than I ever knew before. And again, please feel free to, next time you're at the zoo, to take a stroll through the cactus garden and just learn more about the beauty of these plants that we share our world with. Thanks everybody, and have a wonderful day.